Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into the Indian automobile world.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically looking at Maruti Suzuki,
Mm-hmm.
their Q2 financials, fiscal year 2025.
Okay.
We've actually got three sources.
All right.
Their investor presentation,
Okay.
the unaudited financial results, and even some auditor review reports.
Oh, wow.
So we've got a pretty comprehensive picture of what's going on with India's biggest car manufacturer.
Right.
And I'll say this.
Yeah.
There are some surprises this quarter.
Interesting.
One in particular, a one-time accounting event
Mm-hmm.
that really shook things up.
It is fascinating.
So get ready to kind of unravel this mystery.
A change in tax law
Yeah,
can have
it is interesting.
such a big impact on a company's financials.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump right in
Okay.
with something everyone understands.
All right.
Sales volume.
Uh-huh.
How many cars did they sell?
Yeah.
Overall sales volume is down
Okay.
just under 2% compared to this time last year, totaling 541,550 vehicles sold.
Mm-hmm. That might sound a little bit like a red flag,
Yeah.
but you have to remember the context.
Yeah.
Indian auto market
Right.
facing some headwinds right now.
Sure.
So a slight dip,
Mm-hmm.
not entirely unexpected.
Right. And if we break that down a little bit further,
Okay.
domestic sales were down almost 4%,
Okay.
but exports are up
Oh,
over 12%.
wow.
Yeah.
That's one of the key takeaways here.
It is.
It seems like Maruti's strategy
Yeah.
is to expand
Mhm.
outside of India
Right.
and looking at overseas markets for growth.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see if this trend continues.
Me too.
Yeah.
Huh. Now let's get to the interesting stuff.
Okay.
Breakdown of sales by vehicle type.
All right.
Remember those iconic Maruti models?
Yeah.
The Swift, the Baleno,
Uh-huh.
that segment, mini and compact cars,
Okay.
saw a noticeable decline.
Interesting.
The compact category alone
Yeah.
is down almost 15%.
Oh, wow. That's a
Yeah.
pretty steep drop.
It is.
And it reflects, I think, a bigger trend
Mhm.
that we're seeing in India in general.
What's that?
Rise of the SUV.
The SUV.
People
full
like
rags.
that space,
Yeah.
that feeling of safety.
Yeah, that commanding view of the road.
Yeah.
Right, and I think in India they tend to handle the road conditions a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of SUVs,
Okay.
Maruti's utility vehicle segment is doing quite well.
Right.
It's almost matching
Oh,
the combined share of mini and compact.
that's where the action is in the market right now.
Yeah.
If they want to maintain their leadership position,
Yeah.
they're going to need to capture that SUV demand.
They're taking it seriously.
Okay,
They've launched new models recently.
good.
Now, here's a curveball for you.
All right.
Maruti has this kind of lesser-known side to their business,
Okay.
selling engines and components
Yeah.
to other car companies or OEMs, original equipment manufacturers,
Right.
and get this
Yeah.
sales in this category
Okay.
skyrocketed
Right.
by a massive 83.6%.
Huge jump.
Yeah,
Potentially a game changer for them.
huge.
Yeah.
So by supplying other car makers,
Yeah.
they diversify revenue
Mm.
and they leverage their expertise.
Right.
Smart way to kind of mitigate risk.
Yeah, it's a smart move.
It's like they're saying,
Uh-huh.
hey, we make great engines.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to use them?
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into the numbers themselves.
Okay.
We're going to compare this quarter's performance to the same quarter last year
All right.
as well as last quarter.
Okay.
So we're going to do both
Mhm.
to get a complete picture.
Sounds good.
Hold on tight. Things might get a little complex here.
That's right. So
See?
we'll break it down. So
Right.
we will.
Step by step.
First up,
Yeah.
net sales
Okay.
up slightly, both year over year and
Okay.
quarter over quarter. All right. So they're still managing to grow revenue
Yeah.
despite these
A
challenges.
bit of resilience there.
Yeah.
But now we come to a key metric.
Okay.
Operating EBIT,
Mm-hmm.
earnings before interest and taxes.
Yeah.
This figure is actually down
Right.
compared to the same quarter last year.
So this is an important one.
It is.
This tells us about the profitability
Right.
of their core operations.
Yeah.
And this decline suggests
Mm.
that their margins are under pressure.
So the profit they're making on each car sold?
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll dig into why
We
a
will.
little bit later.
Okay, so mixed bags so far.
Hmm?
Revenue's up.
Yeah.
Profitability's down.
Okay.
Now let's look at profit before tax.
EBT.
EBT.
Yeah.
This is where it gets a little confusing.
Okay.
PBT is actually higher than it was this time last year,
Right.
but it's lower compared to last quarter.
So what's driving that difference?
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
There's some push and pull
Yes.
going on.
And finally, the shocker,
Yeah.
profit after tax, or PE.
Yeah.
The ultimate measure of a company's profitability
Right.
has taken a nosedive.
Okay.
It's down significantly, both
Okay.
year over year
Mm-hmm.
and compared to last quarter.
And I bet this is where that
one time comes
it's
in.
an accounting event.
Yeah, that change in India's Finance Act of 2024.
Comes into play.
The new rules
Yeah.
impact
Mm-hmm.
how companies account for their investments,
Okay.
specifically long-term capital gains on debt mutual funds.
So essentially, they had to set aside a big chunk of money.
Maruti Suzuki did.
Maruti Suzuki did.
Yeah.
For a future tax liability.
They had to set aside
Yes.
a massive amount of money.
Over 8 billion rupees.
It's a huge number.
Wow. So you're saying a future tax bill just got a lot bigger?
Bigger.
And they have to account for it now.
Yeah, they have to account for it now.
But this is a non-cash item.
Exactly. No actual money.
No actual money
Right.
left their accounts.
Right.
So a paper loss then.
A bit of a paper loss.
But it still affects
Absolutely.
how investors view their performance.
It creates a negative impression
Right.
on their profitability.
It's not impacting current cash flow,
Correct.
but it's going to affect how people see the numbers.
Investors are going to be watching very carefully to
Yeah.
see what they do long term.
Okay, we've got revenue up, slightly
Right.
profitability down,
Yeah.
and a big tax bill looming.
Right.
So to really understand what's going on,
Yeah.
we need to look at
We need to dig deeper.
the factors
Yeah.
affecting
their margins.
their margins.
Exactly.
So both the good and the bad.
Well, it's good and bad.
Let's take a look at what's working in their favor.
Okay, so one good thing.
Okay.
They've been actively working to reduce costs.
This is a smart move,
Always a smart move, especially in a competitive industry.
especially in automobiles.
Right.
They've also benefited from some favorable exchange rates, which can really boost earnings.
Right, because they export
Yeah.
vehicles.
When they're exporting.
Yes.
It really helps.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. We're also seeing something called operating leverage working in their favor. Think of it like this. Maruti has big fixed costs, like factories and equipment. As they sell more cars, those costs get spread out over more units, which means they can make more profit per car.
So increasing volume can help boost those margins, even if the per car profit is relatively small.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about on the negative side?
Right.
What's dragging those margins down?
Well, the auto industry is fiercely competitive right now, which means companies have to spend more
Yeah.
on marketing and promotions
Yeah.
to stand out. And that eats into their margins.
They're having to shell out more cash just to get those cars off the lot.
Yeah, it hurts.
That's got to hurt.
And another thing,
Okay.
commodity prices. The raw materials that go into making cars, steel, aluminum, rubber,
Yeah.
have all become more expensive.
It's that classic car industry pressure.
Yeah.
Got to keep prices competitive while dealing with rising input costs.
The tough spot.
Tough spot.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that trend that we touched on earlier.
Okay.
The rise of the SUV in India.
Yeah,
It's like we're seeing a shift in what Indian car buyers want.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The decline in sales of mini and compact cars, while it is substantial,
Yeah.
it's not that surprising.
Yeah.
When you look at what's happening globally,
It's true.
SUVs are becoming more popular in many markets.
Yeah.
And India is no exception. There's a certain appeal
Yeah.
to having that extra space, that higher driving position.
Right. And with India's road conditions, you need that extra ground clearance.
That's right.
This shift presents a real challenge for Maruti Suzuki. Remember, they built their success on those smaller, fuel-efficient cars, like the Swift, the Baleno.
Right.
Those models were practically synonymous with Maruti for a long time.
Exactly. So this shift to SUVs,
Yeah,
it's both a challenge and an opportunity.
it is.
They need to capture a good portion of this growing market.
Yeah.
If they want to stay on top, they are taking steps in that direction.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
Launching new SUV models,
Right.
and they're seeing some success.
Some success.
Let's not forget about that other development,
Okay.
that jump in sales to other OEMs,
Oh, yeah.
those other car companies
Yeah.
that are buying their engines and components.
This is a game changer for them.
It could be.
Yeah.
Think about it. They're leveraging that expertise.
Mm-hmm.
They're tapping into new markets.
Yeah.
They're potentially reducing their reliance on their own car sales.
It's like they're becoming a supplier
Yeah.
to the whole auto industry.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they develop this. Will this become a major source of revenue?
Yeah, will it help them weather some of those storms?
In their core market.
The core market, yeah.
Lots of questions there.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to those financials.
Okay.
And that one-time tax hit.
That one-time tax hit, yeah.
From the Finance Act change.
It really distorts the profitability picture.
It does.
Yeah.
Can you help us understand the long-term implications?
Sure. So, while it's a non-cash item, no actual money left their accounts.
Right.
It does signal that there's going to be a bigger tax burden down the line when those funds are redeemed.
So it's like a delayed reaction.
Yeah, you could say that it's a liability that's on their books.
Right.
And investors are going to be looking at
Yeah.
how they plan to manage that.
Are they going to change their investment strategy?
Yeah, are they going to absorb the higher tax cost?
Interesting.
Yeah.
It really highlights how important it is to look beyond just the headline numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to understand the context, the nuances, the future implications.
So a savvy investor doesn't just react to the latest news.
Exactly. They dig deeper. They consider those long-term trends. They understand the forces that shape a company's performance.
Okay, so we've got a complex picture here.
Yeah.
Shifting preferences, increased competition, cost pressures.
Yeah.
And now this looming tax liability.
It's a lot.
It sounds like a perfect storm.
It's not doomsday yet.
Okay.
They have a strong brand, loyal customer base, a track record of innovation.
But they've got some tough decisions ahead.
They do.
What are the key questions they need to answer?
Can they successfully pivot to SUVs?
Yeah.
Can they make that transition while holding on to that smaller car market? Can they leverage that OEM business?
Right, and become a real player as a supplier.
Become a big supplier, yeah.
Yeah.
Can they navigate this global economy and keep those costs under control?
It's like they're at a crossroads.
They're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
The path they choose now will determine their future.
This deep dive is really revealing how complex Maruti Suzuki's situation is.
It's complicated.
They're facing challenges,
Yeah.
but they're also taking action
They are.
to adapt and evolve.
It's a good story.
It is a fascinating story to follow.
And that's what makes it so engaging.
It is.
To analyze a company like this.
Yeah.
It's not just about numbers.
Yeah.
It's about understanding their strategy.
Right.
The decisions they're making.
Yeah.
How they're responding to the market.
Speaking of choices, there's another element of their performance that I think is worth looking at.
Yeah.
Their cost reduction efforts.
Reduction, yeah.
You mentioned that earlier.
It's a good sign.
It is a good sign.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So in any industry, but especially a competitive one like autos, controlling costs is crucial.
To profitability.
To staying profitable. Yeah. Maruti Suzuki has been actively pursuing cost-cutting measures.
Okay, what kind of measures?
Are they cutting jobs?
Not necessarily like drastic measures like that.
Okay.
It's often about finding efficiencies in the supply chain.
Okay.
Negotiating better deals with suppliers.
Okay.
Streamlining production. Maybe reducing energy consumption.
So lots of little things that add up.
Lots of little things adding up to a big impact. It shows that they're serious about protecting their margins, staying competitive.
But cost-cutting can be a double-edged sword, right?
It can be.
If you cut too much, you sacrifice quality.
Yeah, or innovation.
How are they striking that balance?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
They need to find that sweet spot where they can reduce costs without compromising the quality.
Right.
It takes a strategic approach.
It sounds like they're walking a tightrope. It is a tightrope.
Yeah.
It's a tightrope they need to walk.
They do.
If they want to stay on top.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We had
sales trends, profitability, the tax hit, cost reduction.
It's a lot.
It's been a deep dive.
It has been a deep dive.
And it highlights how complex
Yeah.
analyzing a company can be.
It's not easy.
There are so many factors to consider.
So many factors.
So many moving parts.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so interesting, right?
It's like solving a puzzle.
Exactly.
And as we've seen, there's no easy answer.
No easy answer.
Maruti Suzuki's at a pivotal moment, and their future success depends on how they navigate these challenges and opportunities.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on their export strategy.
Okay.
We touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
Their export sales are booming.
Yeah.
Which is a positive sign.
That's good. But how sustainable is that growth?
That is a great question.
Expanding into new markets is always risky.
It is.
Different countries,
Yeah.
different regulations, consumer preferences.
Different competitive landscape.
It's a whole different ballgame.
What works in India might not work in
might not work.
Africa or Latin America.
It's a different game.
Yeah, so for Maruti to succeed in these new markets, they need to do their homework.
They do.
Adapt to local tastes.
Adapt.
Yeah, build those networks.
It's a lot of work.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It is.
But the rewards could be huge.
It could be huge.
If they can crack that code of international expansion,
Yeah.
it could open up a whole new world for them.
Yeah. They could reduce their reliance on India.
It's a high-stakes game.
High stakes.
It is.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
It will be. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
It has.
We've explored the numbers.
Yeah.
We've explored the challenges, the opportunities that Maruti Suzuki is facing.
It's a complex story.
It is a complex story, but I feel like I have a much deeper understanding now.
I think we all do.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
there's one more topic I'd like to touch on.
Okay.
Maruti Suzuki's focus on innovation.
Innovation.
Yeah. We talked about the adaptation to the SUV.
Right. But are they doing anything else?
Are they doing anything else to stay ahead?
Yeah.
That's a crucial question.
In the auto industry, standing still is like falling behind.
It's true.
Consumers are always looking for that next big thing.
Yeah.
Maruti needs to be at the forefront.
What are they doing?
Right.
Are they investing in EVs?
They are looking at all avenues.
Self-driving cars?
They've already launched mild hybrid vehicles in India,
Okay.
which helps with fuel efficiency.
Yeah.
They're investing in research
Yeah.
and development for electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles seem to be the future.
Yeah.
Can they catch up
That's the big question.
to companies like Tesla
Yeah, the ones that have a head start.
that have a head start? But
The EV market,
yeah,
it's moving fast.
it is.
Maruti's got to move fast.
You've got to keep up.
If they want to be a part of that, they do have a large customer base
They do.
and a strong brand.
Yeah.
They need to leverage that.
They've got to use that to their advantage.
They do.
It sounds like they're in a race against time,
It is a race against time.
but they have adapted
They
before.
have a history.
They've been a leader
Yeah, decades.
for decades.
We can't count them out.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
A lot.
Sales trends, profitability, the tax hit,
Yeah.
restructuring, cost reduction, exports, innovation.
We did it all.
It's a lot.
It is.
What's the bottom line?
Okay.
What should our listeners take away?
I would say Maruti Suzuki is at a crossroads.
Okay.
They are facing those headwinds
Hair.
in their traditional markets.
Mm-hmm.
They're dealing with those cost pressures and navigating a changing world.
But they're also showing resilience.
Yeah.
They're pursuing growth.
They are.
And they're adapting their corporate structure.
To stay competitive.
So it's a mixed bag, but not hopeless.
Not hopeless at all.
Not at all. They
Right.
have a strong brand,
They do.
loyal customer base,
Loyal customers.
and a track record of innovation.
They're good at adapting.
They are good at adapting.
Yeah.
The question is, can they leverage those strengths
That's the question.
to overcome the challenges?
That's the billion rupee question.
That is the billion rupee question. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that our listeners can think about as they watch this company move forward.
Yeah, keep an eye on
Yeah.
how they address those cost pressures, how they adapt to those changing customer preferences,
Right.
especially with SUVs,
Yeah.
and how they use that restructuring
Right.
to really boost efficiency and growth.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about,
It has.
but this is just the starting point.
It is.
We encourage everyone to explore the
That's true.
documents themselves,
Yeah.
form your own opinion,
Pick up your own mind.
and maybe even do a little deep dive of your own.
Yeah, find a company
Find a company you're interested in
that interests you.
and see what you can learn.
Yeah, that's what we'd love to see.
We do love to see that.
Yeah.
Until next time,
Okay.
stay curious, keep learning,
Keep learning
and keep challenging those assumptions.
challenge everything.
Always remember,
Come.
the journey to knowledge
Yeah.
is best enjoyed
Mhm.
when you take a deep dive.
Take a deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Maruti Suzuki's Q2 performance, but there's one more thing I want to touch on that really caught my eye
Oh,
in these reports.
what's that?
It was this major change to Maruti Suzuki's corporate structure.
You're talking about that amalgamation of Suzuki Motor Gujarat Private Limited,
Yeah.
or SMG,
Into Maruti Suzuki.
right into Maruti Suzuki.
Yeah. This is a pretty big development.
It is.
And it could have a lot of ripple effects.
Yeah, It could.
I'll be honest, I wasn't even aware
Uh-huh.
that SMG was a separate entity.
A lot of people aren't.
Really?
Yeah, it was a wholly owned subsidiary
Oh.
of Maruti Suzuki,
Okay.
mainly focused on manufacturing vehicles
Okay.
for Maruti.
So they were building the...
A contract.
Under contract. Okay.
But late last year,
Yeah.
Maruti decided to fully acquire
Okay.
and integrate SMG into their main operations.
That seems like a pretty big move.
It's a big move.
What was the thinking behind that?
Well, I think there were a few reasons.
Okay.
First, bringing SMG in-house gives Maruti more control
Okay.
over their production,
Right.
their supply chains, and their efficiency.
So streamlining things.
Streamline, yeah.
And potentially cutting some costs.
Potentially cutting costs, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And second,
Yeah.
this integration could give Maruti more flexibility. You know, we were talking about those shifting market demands?
Yeah.
Well, now they can adjust production capacity more strategically
Right.
across different models.
So if that SUV trend continues,
Yeah, exactly.
they can just easily
Ramp up production.
ramp up production at those facilities.
At the former SMG facilities.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's all about being agile.
In a fast-changing market.
That's the key.
It is a good thing.
And then finally,
Yeah.
this move simplifies their financial reporting.
Right.
Makes it easier to see how they're doing.
So no more separate financials.
Yeah, everything's consolidated.
Everything under Maruti Suzuki.
Under one roof.
Okay, so we've looked at sales trends.
Yeah.
We've dug into the financials. We've even uncovered this corporate restructuring.
A lot going on.
So what's the big picture?
A big picture.
What are the key takeaways?
Well, I'd say
Yeah.
Maruti Suzuki's at a crossroads.
Okay.
They are facing some headwinds.
They are.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Pressure in their traditional markets, those rising costs we talked about,
That's right.
and this constantly changing world.
Yeah.
But they're also showing resilience.
They are.
They're finding new opportunities for growth, and they're adapting their structure
Right.
to stay competitive.
So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, a real mixed bag.
But not a hopeless situation.
No, not hopeless at all.
Not at all.
They've got a strong brand,
Yeah.
a loyal base of customers,
Right.
and a good track record.
They've been good at innovating
They have.
and adapting in the past.
Exactly.
The question is,
The big question,
can they do it again?
can they leverage those strengths to overcome the challenges?
Yeah, that's the question everyone's asking.
It is.
And I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about
A lot to ponder.
as they watch this
Yeah.
company move forward.
Keep an eye on them.
Yeah, keep an eye on them.
See how they manage those costs.
Yeah.
How they respond to those changing preferences.
Especially that move toward SUVs
The SUVs, right?
and how they use that restructuring
It's to their advantage.
to boost efficiency and growth.
It's been a real eye-opener for me.
It has been fascinating.
I hope it has been for our listeners as well.
I hope so too.
But remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We encourage everyone to check out those source documents.
Read them for yourself.
Form your own opinions.
Do your own research.
And maybe even conduct your own deep dive into this company.
Or any other company.
Or any other company that you're interested in.
That's what we'd love to see.
We do love to see that.
Keep that curiosity alive.
Yeah.
Never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
And always question your assumptions.
Always question your assumptions.
Until next time,
Happy deep diving.
happy deep diving.